All right, cool. So I am sitting across from me is the squad father himself, squad father 710. I'll let him introduce himself. He's been in the cannabis industry for many years, very well known across BC for his work at Thompson Caribou Concentrates. They've got a great lineup of syrups and edibles as well as concentrates that are consistent. I have to admit, I have used his product before, but this is the first time I've met him, and I'll let him introduce himself and share what he's willing to share.
I'm like you said, I'm Squadfather710. You can find me on Instagram. My name's Derrick. I'm from Kamloops, British Columbia. I'm one of the owners of Thompson Caribou Concentrates. We've started about 2014 to try to supply medical patients with access to more affordable medicine.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into my next thing, because I found myself emailing for the past couple of months my thoughts to city council members about things. And I'll be honest, maybe some of my thoughts weren't as awesome as they could have been. But what it boiled down to was one of the council members asked me, what did I mean by patients over profits, which was something that I lifted from you. And I thought, hey, here's someone who's been in the industry, who's been a public face of medical cannabis, who I'm not sure if you coined the term, but, I wanted to get you to actually explain what it meant. Go straight to the source. Don't let my filter warp it into what it's not. Can you explain what it means for patients over profits?
Sure. So basically it's like a motto, mantra that our company follows, that we believe that all people should be able to get affordable medicine and quality at the same time. So Patients Over Profits is also a charity event that we started in 2015, where we have a whole bunch of different companies in the craft cannabis scene in BC come. They all donate and support, and we throw a huge party in Vancouver, and all the money gets donated to local charities. Most of them, obviously, that would help the cause, like cannabis related.
Totally, and so as we're going through a pretty transitional time in the cannabis industry, and we have some cannabis dispensaries concerned about if their doors will be open by the end of this month, which is March when we're recording it. It's got people like myself concerned about getting access to something. I've worked extremely hard to figure out what works for me. As it turns out, for lack of better words, high school ditch weed, low THC, $5 a gram.
Yeah.
That lasts 25 minutes until I have called it the breakthrough period, where you're no longer having a psychoactive effect. But you then have the effects of the cannabinoids, because my needs for cannabinoids is going to be different than your needs.
Absolutely.
So I'm totally concerned about that. Now, share kind of how you're kind of setting yourself up to continue to help patients, and how profits are kind of the afterthought. How do you put patients before profits?
Okay, so basically we're going to try to approach legalization to carry the same model that we do now, but on the legal scale. So we're able to adopt the compassionate side of the market into our practices as an LP. The Patients Over Profits part of that would be instantly carried over, because we wouldn't follow the same price guidelines, I guess you could say, as the LPs do, because they have shareholders and other people that they have to answer to make certain amounts of money, where we would be more focused on actually providing the quality directly with the savings and passing that on to the patients.
Totally. And you shared before we started recording that in Kamloops, for an ounce of shatter, which for those who don't know is a very concentrated THC that you can then create edible products out of, you managed to slash the price on the market. You share a little bit more about that and why that's important?
Okay, so before we started Thompson, I was a regular consumer of medical cannabis products. So myself would be going into dispensaries to purchase for my own medical needs. And when I went into the stores, I found that all the prices that I would see would be substantially more than someone on a medical assistance or some type of supplement income would be able to afford. So, I looked at that and then, thought of what we could do to try to benefit everybody else, as well as providing it to my own medicine as well. Right. So, that's basically about how we handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah,
it's, I have a lot of thoughts about cannabis, and admittedly, I never used it until I was 18 years old, which I think is a healthy choice in myself. But of course, there's always different people who have different needs, and if you take a scientific approach to it, right, we can all figure out what cannabinoids we might be lacking and how we can fill that void. The second part I want to talk about, right, is the community aspect of cannabis. You know, the culture of puff, puff, pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side. You know, something that we always hear about in hip hop music and the media and stuff. You know, what does it mean to honestly pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side, or puff, puff, pass? What does that mean to you in the sense of the cannabis community and what you've kind of built here with Team Shatterboo?
It's like an acceptance. It's like everybody's on the same level. You know what I mean? There's no everybody's equal. It's a sharing. It's a being united. It's just the positive vibe and energy. That's the best way I would describe it.
Yeah, and if you can contribute to the product, you know, if you had a little bit of to add, right? You add it to the mix, and it's if you don't this time, you know, maybe next time you do.
Totally.
The very first summer I started using cannabis products, I didn't spend a single cent actually, and my friends didn't ask me to. They just wanted to have me enjoy the experience and not be concerned with the cost and the contribution. But now, you know, hopefully I can then contribute to them, you know, when I have that opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
And, you know, as someone who's been in the industry, who are some of the people that you've kind of shared a joint with, or something that might be pretty interesting to share?
I've had the pleasure of smoking and sharing cannabis with quite a few people, I guess, in the industry. Remo would probably be one of the high up there's. You know, I was always a fan of Remo before I was even in the cannabis scene. Can
you let me know who Remo is a little bit?
Yeah, Remo is like one of the world-renowned cannabis growers. He also owns a nutrient company called Remo Newts. You can check him out at his website, remonutrients.com. He provides excellent garden, greenhouse, indoor, all that sort of.
Is he in Quebec? Is that where he's from?
No, Remo was out of British Columbia.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you can find him, like I said, on YouTube too. He before he put out his nutrients, he was the guy that went around and did filmed gardens and tried to bring people straight good knowledge on how to grow clean, good cannabis for themselves.
And I guess that's a really interesting part of legalization is being able to have 4 plants, which, you know, for myself, that is more cannabis than I could consume in a year.
For sure.
You know, what aspect do you think that's going to come about? Like, what, you know, if someone wants to actually plant some plants, what are something where should they go to get some knowledge about growing plants when that option comes?
Well, I mean, nowadays with the internet, before, back in the day, I would have told you to pick up a book. You still can pick it up. It's called Horticulture, The Guide to Horticulture, and it's by Jorge Cervantes. And it's one of the best cannabis guides, basically, that you can find out there. A lot of great knowledge, soil information, light knowledge, space, basically everything you could need to start. You don't have to be you could start from scratch, basically, pick up the book, and it's for everybody. You don't have to have any certain level of knowledge to be able to understand any of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So, and with the advent of legalization around the corner, landlords are obviously concerned that people will be smoking inside, which myself, I've never found that it sticks around when you open a window and light a candle. But, you know, as someone who does produce some edible products, you know, where do you think that falls in with the edibles not being allowed until 2019?
I heard that it's not just the edibles, but it's going to be the concentrates too. So they're pushing the concentrates and the edibles back a full year.
And why do you think that is? Is it the lab side of things or the testing? Why do you think they're waiting where someone like myself who can dose themselves 10 milligrams, right, and go for a 10-kilometer run? Your dog just finding something going on.
Sorry.
No worries. I have a dog as well. But someone who does rely on that calculated dose.
Yep.
You know, smoking is self-dosage, right? You can smoke too little, but you smoke too much, you just stop when you need. And
for sure,
you can use a little bit of CBD to bring yourself back if that's a problem. But where do you think the edibles are going to be in that time where it's kind of in purgatory in terms of legalization?
I think they're trying to honestly look at places like California that just legalized and how they're doing it. Seattle, Colorado. I think they're going to try to adopt some sort of a model similar to that, where it's low dose edibles. Because I agree with you, especially when something's brand new and just becoming legal, where no one would have approached it before. Like, most people wouldn't have tried an edible before, but now that it's legal, they're now it's something they may want to experiment with. So for them to get too high of a dosage of something for their first time, I think that might honestly leave a negative impression with them about the product as well. So I think dosing, I can't see the government's doing it wrong per se when it comes to that. I think it's something that does take a great deal of caution to try to figure out correctly of how to do it. Yeah, and safely for everybody as well.
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with cannabis edibles and might be interested in experimenting, that 10 milligrams that I shared is the equivalent of like having one beer. That's kind of the correlation that I
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with my experimentation of some friends, they found that 10 milligrams was also 10 times too much for them.
And everybody's different, right?
And there's nothing wrong with that. My needs for cannabinoids, certain cannabinoids, is going to be extremely different than the next person's. And if you are in a circle and someone's passing something around, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to take 2 puffs and walk away. It's okay to just not, right? Some people don't need cannabinoids.
Yeah, there's no need to feel like you have to, just because you bought an edible or you bought some marijuana flower to try or to vaporize it, you have to consume a certain amount of it at once. I think it's like you said, it's very wise to ease your way into it. It's safer to try too little and not feel anything than to try to too much and not be able to turn that back, right?
Totally. And the concept of microdosing interests me immensely. The idea of a subseptimal level, right, where you take so little that you don't feel it, but you still get the effects. That's kind of the future of, I think, maybe widespread cannabis use, where, I've listened to some podcasts where, like people take vitamin C every day. People should be taking very low dosages of THC or CBD or any of the other cannabinoids that honestly aren't well researched enough. If, it's 12 minutes left, you know what? I feel like we still have a bit to talk about. Can you just give like a super quick breakdown of cannabis knowledge that you think my parents who have never might need to know?
Certain things about cannabis. I think it's all about what you think is best for yourself, and I think that everyone should try to at least not necessarily experiment with THC, but experiment with CBD or other forms of the cannabinoids for themselves to try to get their own impressions of things. I honestly believe that there's so much knowledge out there nowadays available with between social media networks and YouTubes and all the other platforms that you're able to really get a firm understanding from a wide perspective of people too. Mm-hmm. So I would say always. My opinion would be for anyone to give it an honest research and then give it a shot.
Yeah, and go speak to your local dispensary, right? They
Yes.
are there to help make recommendations for you. And that's how I was able to find my balance was to have that conversation, and they want to have that conversation, right? This is something that they're passionate about because they see the power of the plant.
Dispensaries play a very crucial role in patient access. I think that without dispensaries, a lot of people would be turning to the black market and less safe means of access. So they do, and like you said, knowledgeable as well. A lot of the people that are in the dispensaries, you can go in and ask them about products that you haven't tried, and they're able to, tell you how to go home and try the topical cream for the first time, or how to go home and try your capsules properly. So you feel like when you're leaving there, it's like you're leaving with the proper tools and knowledge to go home and try the product safely.
Yeah, exactly. And for those who are still on the fence of whether or not cannabis is as powerful as yourself and I believe, I'll just tell a quick story about how I once ran 50K in Vernon, and then I drove myself back that day.
Legs burning.
Vernon, drove myself back,
Yep.
had a nap, and then I used high CBD flower. I can't remember the particular strain, but it had me walking like I never ran 50K.
Yeah.
And then I worked the next day at 6 a.m.
Like nothing ever happened.
Like, you know, I was a little bit stiff the next day, and you know, that's because I'm not going to consume and go to work.
Of course.
But, you know, I don't know if I would have been able to do that if I didn't have that CBD in, I think it was Critical Mass.
There you go.
That's what it was. It was Critical Mass. I was recommended by my dispensary at the time, which since unfortunately got shut down. They got bought up by a different dispensary, Herbal Health Center.
Okay.
But yeah, it's super powerful. And you know, let's kind of bring it to close. We've kind of gone over the allotted time that we usually try and stay. Derrick, what parting words do you want to share? Plug everything, where people can find you, and anything upcoming that you might have that you want to share.
Okay, so May 19th in Vancouver, 1426 Charles Street, we're doing Patients Over Profits 3. It's a full night of fun activities that we have planned. There's raffles, giveaways. It's $20 a ticket to get in. We're also doing free squad gear for a year, which is once a month bundle for 12 months, where we're giving away all of our cannabis products to a winner that's going to win that. So it's all for charity, so come out and support that. Also, 420, we're booth 76 down at Sunset Beach in Vancouver. All of our products will be available there as well for 19 plus, so you can come down and check us out there. For shout-outs wise, I'd like you guys to check us out on Weed Maps. We're always available on there, places to find us. It links you right to stores where you can find us on there. And Weed Map supports us, so give a shout out to them. And Expert Joints as well. Check out Expert Joints show on Thursday at 4:20. He always has very relevant people in the cannabis scene on there, always providing great information about access and what's happening, current things and whatnot. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for meeting with me, and I look forward to kind of seeing your company grow. As it's a very exciting time for the cannabis industry, and you know, I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, some local cannabis ganjapreneurs.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
awesome.
Anyways, Derrick, we'll end it there, and thank you for speaking with me.
It's a pleasure.